Okay. And also on that sheet, if you'd like to receive a newsletter that I do called Leadership, Literacy, and Languages, I talk about what's hot and what's not in 21st century marketing, program leadership, and administration in the 21st century, and give you tips on how to market your programs better. Go ahead and do that. Okay. In the 21st century, as well, what I can tell from research and practice, it's a combination of qualitative and quantitative. No numbers without stories, no stories without numbers. And the last one is this attitudinal shift that I'm seeing now. It's called an asset-based approach to marketing. It's a paradigm shift. It's a philosophical paradigm shift that's rapidly happening. So it's a change from deficit-based thinking, what we don't have. We don't have funding. We don't have money. We don't have resources. We don't have enough staff. We just don't have enough to do the work that we need to do. And we're doing really good work, and it really matters, but we don't have enough. Okay. The very thinking is starting to shift. And I'm starting to see, when I work with organizations, that the ones who are being successful, the ones who are getting more money, more funding, more learners, more people registering in their programs, are taking what we're calling an asset-based approach. What do we have? This is the critical question. What do we have? What do we have in terms of expertise? What do we have in terms of skills in our own office? What do we have in terms of attitudes? What do we have in terms of physical resources? Do you have a physical space? Or are you borrowing space from somebody? If you have your own physical space, that's an asset. Okay. What do you have in terms of computers? And so forth. What do you have to do the work that you are going to do? The theme of our conference is becoming agents of change. One of the most powerful things I think you can do when it comes to your marketing is the change that you make in the thinking. A collaborative approach, an asset-based approach. As it is with learners, so it is with marketing. Because you would never say to a learner, you don't have the skills. You're not good enough. You don't have a computer, so you can't learn to, to type or keyboard. Whatever, I guess keyboarding is a 21st century term. However you would treat your learners, you would look at their assets, you would look at their progress, you would look at how far they've come. You can look at your marketing the same way. I think you should. How far have you come? If you weren't tweeting last year and you're tweeting this year, you've come a good way into the 21st century. If you didn't know anything about social media before you came to this conference and you're leaving armed with a whole new set of skills and things that you can implement, you've come a long way. Okay? You need to recognize and celebrate your own marketing and efforts, promotion efforts, communication efforts, the same way you celebrate your learners. This is your internal recognition as well. I have a very successful realtor friend, and they always say for open houses they want fun, food, and recognition. So they want something. They always have food around if they can. They try and make it fun. They're pretty chirpy. And then they try and recognize people when they come by. Thank you for coming by today. So that was their three, the fun, food, and recognition for every event that they do. Okay. Everybody in your organization comes to the table with experience, talents, and skills. And nowadays, it's not what don't we have? We don't have enough, but rather where are we starting from, and how can we build on what we have today? Because quite frankly, we never have enough. So how do we use what we have? This isn't my thinking. It started in the 1960s. It comes from appreciative inquiry, by the way. That's the basis for it. And now there's a group of people working at St. Francis Xavier University at the Coady Institute, and they do what's called asset-based community development. It's an ABCD approach, asset-based community development. And so that same approach of looking at our assets is now coming over into marketing and communications. And that's sort of the 21st century way that we're looking at marketing now in what we do in the social sectors. Okay. For this conference, I put together a website that I hope will help you and give you some resources. It's called www.marketyourlanguageprogram.com. www.marketyourlanguageprogram.com. I've got articles up there for you. I've got SlideShare presentations. SlideShare, by the way, is another social media. I put up all my slides from presentations that I do on there. It's a free resource, if you will. And I've got YouTube videos up there for you. It's not done yet because I literally put it together for this conference so I could share it with you. It's a work in progress, but I wanted to sort of take everything that I've done. Like, okay, I've got all these resources that I want to share, and they're free, by the way. All these articles that I put up there, they're all free. Okay. You just go and okay, I want something on how to market. And it's for all ESL, right? So I do things there for revenue-generating international programs and for community-based literacy programs. So there's all kinds of different things up there. There's homestay stuff. There's all kinds of things. I've got some sample forms. I've got. I will be putting up shortly some forms on how to do budgets and work marketing into your budgets for that. So check it out because I'll keep updating it for you. But I want it to be like a one-stop shop for everything we can on marketing language programs. I love to talk about this stuff, by the way. So if you need a workshop for your organization, then let me know. Now, we've got a couple of minutes left. They asked us to include 10 minutes for questions. I'd like to know what your questions are about marketing, because I got a lot of stuff up here, and I'm happy to share it with you. So I'll share some stories, or I'll share some tips. Anything you want to know that I can share, I'll be happy to do that. No one has any questions on marketing? We have a room full of people and nobody has any questions? Yes?
I just want to ask, when you said that asset-based community development, who was that again?
That's the Coady Institute, COADY. And they operate out of St. Francis Xavier University. And they have summer institutes. It's mostly for education, and they do a lot of international development work. But the thinking and the philosophy are kind of what I'm interested in getting at here. I've done a couple of workshops with one of their key people. Her name's Alison Matthey, and she talks about asset-based community development for community organizations and this idea of asking the question, what do we have? Yeah.
Well, thank you, but I do actually have a question.
Okay, sure.
I'm sure there's other people that are sitting in this room that they work for the board, but the ministry provides money. So there's this constant squeeze between ministry policies and funding is what we're allowed to do versus the board policies. So it's very hard to sometimes market out of that. And so do you have any suggestions for that? And do you have any suggestions of some marketing activities? Because a lot of the programs that are set up like that, we only get paid for contact numbers. We do a lot of extra work that's free on our own time as it is, plus how are we going to market it? So do you have a website or something you can suggest, maybe, a place you can go that you dedicate maybe 35 minutes to try and look at marketing ideas so that you're not spending 4 hours of your evening and that you're not receiving any pay for it?
Okay. So I think the first question was, how do you reconcile the tensions between funding restrictions?
Policies.
Policies.
Board policies. And some of this social media that you're talking about, like some of this media is fabulous, right? But I'm going to have to find out because there's two different policies, two different sets of kind of rules. So do you have any suggestions for people who have literacy programs and some kind of quick marketing tools or things that you utilize since we only get paid for contact?
It's a tough question. I love tough questions. It's a tough question. It's a tough question because restricted funds really kind of bind you in what you can do and what you can't do. I tend to be a little subversive, and so as I was working with the same program in Alberta, and literally took them to the market. The other conversation that we started was, how do we take the programs that you have and turn them into revenue generators? So, because they had government funding, right? You can't charge for those programs. I'm like, take them and repackage them. So some of the same programs that they were, because marketing, right? The 4 Ps: the price, product, promotion, and place. we took the same programs and we repackaged some of their communication skills programs into presentation skills for the workplace. And they were starting to work with local businesses to train local businesses on giving workers presentation skills. So we took the word literacy out of it, actually, and sort of destigmatized it, if you would, and promoted it as communication skills. So what they're trying to do now is kind of almost start their own little continuing education kind of courses, so they can get unrestricted funds. So you can't change the system. I mean, you can't, it's very, very slow. And it's still a little bit slower to get your own programs to get them up and running. By the way, my research and work in the field shows that 2 to 5 years is a reasonable expectation to show if you go from a zero program for revenue generation to make it profitable. That's the turnaround time, or the product development cycle, if you will, for educational programs, 2 to 5 years. So don't expect a miracle, I'll be honest about that. But if this system is very rigid, then I think you actually may not have a lot of options except to go outside it and get really creative and think about what do we have? What do we have in terms of courses, programs, and so forth? And can we take them and repackage them and sell them? That would be one suggestion. Did I answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
And some quick marketing things that
Lots of things we call them marketing. In business, they call them marketing, and then they'll use other terms in nonprofit education. They'll say promotion, they'll say public relations. Public relations is a different practice in business, but we kind of get them all confused in the social sectors. Charity Village is one of my favorite ones. Yeah. Okay. Here and then here. Yeah.
From my perspective as an adult learner, which are our programs most valuable. From my perspective as an adult learner, I believe learners are our program's most valuable assets. I wonder from a marketing cost position, to have learners work on the computer, learn how to make business cards, and make business cards for the programs that the learners can hand in.
Super. Love that idea. Yeah. I mean, you could do the same thing with a YouTube video, right? If somebody comes in, they've got a video camera, and they're willing to share that skill. That would be great.
Because a lot of us are working for, and we don't have the finances, and it's to reach the grassroots, the people that don't have access necessarily, like you say, to a computer and things like that.
Yeah.
So, like, I would like to see our programs utilize their most valuable asset more than stories, like have us as an outreach.
Super. Love that idea. Thanks. Okay. You had a question, then the gentleman behind you.
I'm an executive director of an agency, and sometimes I feel like you have to be all to everybody. But one of the pieces that's missing, I think, from this presentation is about volunteers in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Because oftentimes when I'm sitting and thinking about even marketing or PR, and I think about, so who can lend me their expertise? Because people want to do that. And I've been pretty successful, I guess, just, you go to lunch with somebody or have a meeting with somebody and say, how did you kick off this Christmas campaign? What are your ideas? And you kind of work together, and it costs nothing.
I love that because
People
it's
really like to help out.
yeah, it's an asset-based approach. Who do we have? Who do I have in my network? Who do I have in my community who can help me? Yeah, you're right. I mean, using volunteers is, and I used to talk a lot about that in other presentations. And the feedback I got was, well, our volunteers like us are already overworked and so forth. So I kind of took that out a little bit. So it's good feedback. Maybe I'll put it back in.
But sometimes it's just taking a risk too. You know what I mean? Because you don't know if they're going to help you, but you reach out. If they say no, go somewhere else.
There you go.
You know? But lots of people really do want to help out.
Yeah. And one of the neat things you find out when you're in social media is the connections of connections, right? Anybody on LinkedIn, you've got your second degree connections and your third degree connections, and suddenly you find out, oh, wait, I do know somebody who's got expertise in that. So good feedback. Thanks.